Hey everybody, it is Kellen Nitro for Nitro Maniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited coming at you again with another classic Nitro's take by request by our friend Nick Opalewski. Happy New Year, Nick, and it's time for his request. It's time for his request here on the channel. We're going to go back to the night before the 1993 Royal Rumble. Yes, it is the go-home edition of WWF programming prior to that pay-per-view in Sacramento at the Arco Arena. This was WWF Superstars, the 1/23/93 edition from the Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas, pre-taped, probably with a bunch of other stuff that ran in previous weeks and so on and so forth. As I mentioned, this aired on the eve of the 1993 Royal Rumble, generally considered to be one of the worst Rumbles of the lot. And yes, age has not aged that thing gracefully. It is still one of the worst Royal Rumbles they've ever done. No star talent whatsoever in the Rumble match, with the exception of, maybe Savage. You have Yokozuna. You have Ric Flair, but he's on his way out. Mr. Perfect. They're all involved in that little feud going on. And, of course, WWF in a state of flux going into this pay-per-view. Now, this will be a quick one because this show has a lot of squash matches in it. There is not a lot of match time in this program, as basically it's just hype for the pay-per-view. Vince McMahon opens the show with Jerry the King Lawler and the Macho Man Randy Savage on commentary. And Vince opens up by saying Crush is a no-go for the Rumble. Doink put him out. More on that later on in the show. The opening contest features The Undertaker taking on Dave Silguero. Dave's doing the job, and Taker's hitting all his greatest hits, and they're hyping the Taker-Whippleman feud, which would, of course, get launched into the stratosphere with the debut the next night of El Gigante, Giant Gonzalez, showing up on the pay-per-view. Tombstone 1-2-3, it's a quick match. But, all the big stuff with Taker and Whippleman goes down to next night with Whippleman debuting Giant Gonzalez. And Gonzalez was not part of the Rumble match. He just walked out as a new character. And then in subsequent weeks, we found out that, yes, indeed, that is, Giant Gonzalez. So, there we go. Now, an update on the Crush Doink angle with Mean Gene Okerlund in the WWF Magazine update, brought to you by IcoPro. Yes, it is that era. Mean Gene revisits the Doink Crush angle, and you see this in the WrestleMania 9 hype too. It's the Doink has his arm in a sling, and Crush gets a flower bit of the angle, and then the arm gets used, the fake arm. And this, of course, was Matt Bourne as Doink, and Matt Bourne was the best Doink. And, of course, the old story with Matt Bourne being Doink is, I think Hawk from the Road Warriors saw Matt Bourne sitting in a dressing room somewhere, I think in maybe like an SWS show in Japan or something like that, and he looked like Krusty the Clown with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, because the Simpsons were just debuting and just the biggest thing at that point. So it's like, hey, that guy looks like Krusty the Clown. And I think Bruce Pritchard was in attendance for that or something, and was like, hey, there's our gimmick, there's our evil clown. But anyway, you see the angle play out. This looks to be Allentown. I'm unsure of where they taped that bit of the angle. So you see shots of kids looking around shocked. Mean Gene says severe concussion for Crush, and Crush is out of the Royal Rumble. And of course, the Crush Doink thing would continue through the Rumble and on to WrestleMania to have its own undercard match, in which Doink won. And I did a Nitro take on WrestleMania 9 a few years ago. So go back into the archives, and if you want to know my thoughts on that show, which I still have chalked up as one of my favorite Manias of all time, even though it may not be regarded to be one of the best Manias of all time, go check it out. It's in the back catalog here on the channel. Next contest, Ken Johnson versus Marty, Jannetty, and Mike Mcguirk with the ring intro. Shawn Michaels in the picture-in-picture and asks whose corner Sherry will be in for the match between Jannetty and Michaels at the Royal Rumble. Says she will be in Shawn's corner. Didn't really work out that way, but Rocker Dropper 1-2-3 for Jannetty in short time, just enough to get the HBK promo in, and then we head back to the event center, and Sean Mooney is in the event center, and of course, it's still a classic Rumble format, so you still have these guys popping out. They have 30 seconds or less to basically tell you what they're going to do in the Rumble match. I wish that they brought this format back, honestly, on WWE television. That way you get to know the Rumble field a little bit, the guys who have qualified and the girls who have qualified, and basically who they're going after in the Rumble. If it's just everybody or if there's a feud going on, what superstar they want to eliminate the most. It added an extra dimension to this match back in the early days, and I enjoyed it. So you see promos from Tito Santana, says he'll go to time distance. Damien Demento says he will be victorious forever. The Rocket and the Birdman say Razor will pay his dues against Bret Hart in the WWF title match. More on that coming up in the show. And then the Beverlys have a great promo to set up their feud against the Steiners. Now, of course, the Beverly brothers would lose to the Steiner brothers 10:34 on the event. The match would go about 10 minutes and 34 seconds, I should say, on the event night. And it's one of the better matches on the card. Maybe one day we'll do a Nitro Stake on Royal Rumble 1993 in the coming years or so. But again, it's one of the few. The undercard for Rumble 93 itself is probably one of the better undercards set up at the time. The Rumble match itself is terrible. Just is. It's got no momentum building to it whatsoever. Next contest on this episode of Superstars was Papa Shango versus Rudy Boy Gonzalez. Cool to see Rudy in a wrestling role, longtime ref, and if you are a fan of Ring of Honor, yes, he was the ref that was bringing up the Texas Wrestling Academy students from Shawn Michaels' school for those early ROH shows. Guys like Spanky Kendrick, Brian Danielson, and I think Quiet Storm was part of that. The ilk of those characters as well. For those early ROH shows, well, Rudy Boy Gonzalez was the head trainer at the Texas Wrestling Academy, which is Shawn Michaels' school. So, really cool to see Rudy in a wrestling role. Shango says 29 men he will possess, and beware of voodoo in the picture-in-picture. And in a shoulder breaker by Shango, nets the 1-2-3. Cameras missed the pyro from Shango's wand, though. So, Kevin Dunn, well, this was pre-produced. What was the excuse here? You missed the gimmick. Too bad. Then we flash back to WWF Mania, which was another syndicated show they had at the time. Not WrestleMania, but WWF Mania from 2 weeks ago, and Razor Ramon jumping Owen Hart. This, of course, was the infamous locker room attack by Razor Ramon on Owen Hart as Ray Rougeau was interviewing Owen Hart about his chances at the Rumble and Bret's chances against, well, Razor Ramon going forward at the Royal Rumble in 93. The infamous Hey Rosket, which goes out with the whole I kicked your leg out of your leg from Owen a year later at 94. There was some great alliteration on some of these old WWF promos back in the day. Just insane stuff. Ray Rougeau then brings out Bret the Hitman Hart, but Razor's on the Titantron. Razor runs down Bret's accomplishments, says squashing Owen was fun in the back of the locker room. Razor takes whatever he wants. Bret says, let's do the fight now, to which the crowd in San Antonio, of course, gets up on their feet. And you want to fight Razor Ramon? You've got it. This was an excellent go-home promo, as Razor says, you want to fight Razor Ramon? You've got it, but we'll see you at the Rumble. So Razor don't fight for free. Razor set up his chance, and he's going for it at that point. So this was an excellent go-home promo, and the match at the Rumble was easily match of the night. Yes, that is that WWF title match that goes 1752, just prior to the 30-man Royal Rumble, is an amazing technical showcase that shows what both those guys could do at the time. It was kind of Scott Hall's coming out party as Razor Ramon a little bit, and it is Bret the Hitman Hart's finer matches from his first run as champion after winning the title from Ric Flair in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan back in 92. So we got another squash. Gary Jackson takes on Bam Bam Bigelow. Bam Bam's got the Boss Man at the Rumble. A great picture-in-picture promo by Boss Man on Bigelow, and then a diving headbutt for the 1-2-3 by Bam Bam ends that segment. If you are wondering what happened at the 93 Royal Rumble, well, Bam Bam defeated the Boss Man by pinfall in 10 minutes and 10 seconds. I have to go back and rewatch Rumble because I don't remember that match. Case been put, so I have to go back and rewatch the 93 Rumble. Maybe you'll get a Nitro Stake sooner than you think on that show here on the channel. We'll wait and see. We got some great Rumble stuff planned for this month. Well, that you may have already seen or may still have to roll out. We'll wait and see. Nasty Boys with a headlock on hunger promo. Yes, this was a initiative that WWE would do. Kind of similar to, if you're a fan of Canadian football, the Purelator Tackle Hunger thing, where fans could bring food for the food banks in the area that a show or a live event was happening, and you would get either discounted tickets or free merchandise or something for bringing, a couple cans of soup to the show or something. And in turn, WWE would take that and donate that to a local food bank or charity. Kind of a cool initiative. It definitely would be something that would be interesting to bring back in a 2022 climate. I would be up for that for sure, to see what would happen with that initiative. I mean, it might be one way to help fill these half-empty houses and that stuff that WWE is getting on a week-to-week basis. So, Headlock on Hunger. Check it out. We also get a recap package of a Friday night MSG show that was a American Red Cross benefit for Somalia relief. This was the Headlock on Hunger show for MSG that they were doing on the Friday night before the Royal Rumble weekend. So, case in point, there you go. WWE was doing a lot of good with that program. Mean Gene Okerlund hypes the Rumble. This was the first year that the Rumble winner would go to WrestleMania for a WWF title chance after the year before, in which the WWF title was on the line, and the year before that when nothing was on the line, but Hulk Hogan went to WrestleMania 7 anyway to fight Sergeant Slaughter, because America. Mr. Fuji hypes the eventual winner of the Royal Rumble, Yokozuna. Spoiler alert, whatever. Mr. Perfect says there's only one perfect man. We even get a Bob Backlund promo before he went crazy, so it's boring. Ric Flair Rumble hype. Woo, so good. Yes, he delivers another great Ric Flair promo. Then we end up going into what ends up being the last match on the show. Dale Wolf takes on Kamala with Reverend Slick. Kamala is full babyface here, and King and Macho Man explain the storyline well, with Reverend Slick coming back and finding Kamala and helping him kind of, retool his ways. He's not a jungle savage anymore. He's learned the ways of they were doing like an Eddie Murphy Coming to America thing with him, I think. And, we didn't get to see it play out in the long run, but I would love to see him recreate the scene with Kamala walking out onto the front stoop with the whole F you to the neighbors and everything. Would have been great. That would have been awesome stuff. But Wolf tries a hot start, but then the brain chop by Kamala falls Wolf. Whippleman is in the picture-in-picture, says Kim Chi will lay out Kamala. I don't think that happened. I think that's one thing that was actually accomplished in this feud, is that Kamala did end up, beating Kim Chi, who was the Brooklyn Brawler, Steve Lombardi, in a match. But this was when they were trying to establish Giant Gonzalez. So Giant Gonzalez just ended up beating up Kamala anyway in the long run. So there we go. Big splash, and Kamala tries the Ariana Celeste cover until the crowd urges Kamala to turn over Wolf. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, if you all remember the cover that former Funkadactyl Ariana tried on Monday Night Raw one night, where she did the whole splits leg drop thing and sat on the midriff of her opponent, but her opponent was on her stomach. The shoulders were not on the mat. She was inverted, laying on her belly. And of course the ref can't count because the shoulders aren't down on the mat. Unless you behead your opponent. In which case, you still would have to turn the torso over to get the pinfall. But anyway, regardless, there we go. So that might have been the first instance of that happening. So perhaps Ariana Celeste was paying tribute to this contest in that situation. I doubt it, but there we go. Anyway, Bobby Heenan hypes Narcissist. See OSW for more. Yes, the Old School Wrestling Review has a great review out as well of the 1993 Royal Rumble. I would suggest everybody go check that out. But yes, Bobby Heenan hyping Narcissist. Lex Luger about to make his debut the next night in WWE as Narcissus, coming straight from the World Bodybuilding Federation at that time. Sean Mooney with more Rumble hype. Money Inc. hypes their appearance in the Rumble. Tatanka with a stereotypical promo for early 93. Berserker comes out. He's not selling cars. How they never put the strap on him? Man, put an Intercontinental title on the guy. Come on. There were gimmicks galore. John Nord should have had an IC title run. Come on, guys. Let's go. The Nasties are back saying they will get Money Inc. And the show ends with Lawler and Macho bickering and Vince running down the card for the Rumble. A fade to black at 43 minutes and 5 seconds. Go watch Rumble 93. So my rating out of 10 for this show is a 6.5 out of 10. It's 1993, so it's not a lot to be expected. It's during the real lousy period of 1993, so there's not a lot to be expected here either. But it kind of is a good blueprint on how WWF in the day used to do go-home shows for pay-per-views. Now it's all thrown out the window because nobody knows what the hell they're doing or whatever. But back then, yeah, you could count on them for a solid go-home show every week before a pay-per-view, especially a major pay-per-view, especially when they were only doing 4 or 5 pay-per-views a year. You could count on them doing a really good job with whatever the last little bit of WWF television was prior to the Rumble. Now, it depended on where the show ran in syndication or whatever. You might have seen this the day before the Royal Rumble on a Saturday, much like probably would have happened up here. I think Maple Leaf Wrestling had started to kind of fade away at that time, and we would have got the WWF Superstars show in around that point or whatever. Definitely wasn't the Monday Night Raw 1 hour condensed show yet at that time. Raw, I think, is just about to debut, if not has just debuted at this point. So Raw has yet to debut at this point or has just debuted. So Monday Night Raw, of course, is not the flagship program yet at this point. So they're doing all their stuff in syndication. They're still doing the whole, they've just stepped away from primetime wrestling, but Superstars is still their kind of deal on the weekends and that stuff. Some markets saw it on Friday, or some markets saw it on Saturday, some markets saw it on Sunday morning, but that's about the time frame that people would have seen it. And this is actually the air date for this one was the day before, so it was a Saturday air date. You know, hyping kids to bug their parents to go buy the Rumble the next day. What more could you ask for, right? So there we go. Anyways, later days, happy wrestling watching. If you too would like to request a show that we can take a look at for you, email me, nitromaniactv@gmail.com, and we'll get right after that. Right now, the docket's empty for 2022, so get those requests in. I'd like to do one per month, see how it goes as we pick this up again, and hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun going through the show with me. I had a lot of fun watching it. Take care. Happy wrestling watching. We'll see you next time here on Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited. Take care. See you.